Hey Sooner Scoop, Spaceman here. Today we're taking a look at OU's offensive line from 2017 and from 2021 in their respective games against Baylor and Kansas State. I was a big defender of Wylie and a lot of the things he did, but over the years, offensive and defensive line development has been lacking to some extent. Where under Schmidt, it was elite. And I want to show you guys, not just tell you guys that that is something that was going on, but show you why I am saying those things. And you can see it actually play out in these two plays sort of juxtaposed to one another. And I'm gonna try and highlight a few things. So first, on this, we're gonna be looking really at left tackle Orlando Brown and left tackle Anton Harrison. In these two respective plays, which are very similar to one another in kind of the general blocking style, we're going to be watching their hips and specifically looking at the strength that they have in their posterior chain. We're going to kind of ignore that Anton Harrison's late out of his stance and really just look at the movement we see, as well as with another player I'll show you in a second. If you don't know posterior chain strength, that's just the strength on the backside of our body. That's our back, our hamstrings, our glutes. For football and really any sport, it's extremely important. For offensive line, it gives us the ability to stay in a nice, low, powerful stance, to allow our hips to be sort of the pivot point for which everything moves, as opposed to being a bender of the waist, right? We can actually keep a nice low position, loaded position with our legs, and explode out of our stance a lot better. And really what I want to look at is just getting out of the stance. So if we'll notice kind of early assessment here, just looking at the position of Orlando's back versus Anton's back here, just sort of the hunched overness that I see, how high those hips are kind of set, whereas with Orlando, there's a little bit more load in the heels. That certainly indicates a really strong posterior chain and good lower body conditioning, which is something that Schmidt really prides himself in being able to produce at a pretty high level. Next thing, and for those who have ever deadlifted or who are technicians of the deadlift, you know that it's an extremely good posterior chain exercise, but from a technical standpoint, you want to fight the rise of your hips too early. What we see here, and I'll point out Orlando Brown first, is how those hips stay pretty low up out of his stance. Notice that the first thing that really rises is his head and chest, right? What this indicates is just good lower body strength, that stability you need to keep a nice low base. What we're going to look at here with Harrison here on this side, same idea, watching the hips, is the hips are actually going to be the first thing to rise. I'm going to try and slow it down frame by frame. But watch as right from basically this frame to this frame, you'll notice those hips rise, chest hasn't even started really moving yet. And typically what you see, or when you see that, is when guys have weak posterior chains. They're very, very, very reliant on using their back in a manner that's not advantageous for athletic movement. Now once he's up and sort of sees those hips rise, once they're risen, he does okay getting out of his stance. But I also wanted to point out that you also see it with this guy here. I believe that might be Marquise Hayes. I cannot remember. I think so. But again, you just see those hips rise so fast. Notice that his back position actually gets really flat right here. He's extremely flattened out. And when that happens, two things. One, you lose your eyes. You're now in a position where it's hard to look up. Whereas if you watch left guard here, watch how those shoulders stay above the hips. It's a really strong low base. His pivot point is out of the hips, right? Does not end up in that flattened out position. It sounds and seems so simple, but guys, these are the small things when it comes to strength and development of offensive linemen. When Gabe talks about having sand in your pants, if you have a weak posterior chain, you're going to be really, really weak on your heels. If you have weak glutes and weak hamstrings, you're not going to be able to stay in these really low, strong, sturdy positions. And that's why you saw OU's offensive line get pushed back a lot. Why guys who just you haven't seen development from everyone. That's a big indicator of lack of strength and development. Just wanted to show you guys this. I know I've talked about it a little bit on the board, but wanted to actually give you guys some why and what sort of the reasons of why I'm saying those things. So I hope you guys enjoy. Have a Merry Christmas, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.